Kushner looking for a Russian bailout for his Manhattan real estate enterprise when he met with Sergei Gorkov last winter? That's the question Congress is hoping to ask Kushner when he eventually testifies. Congressional sources tell NBC News. NBC's Ken Dilanian has been digging into it all. Ken, we first started this conversation on Friday. We've also got Miko Yang here still from Washington. But Ken, we talked about how all of the explanations for Jared Kushner's meeting with this Russian banker requires some more context, right? So the explanation we got from the White House was that they were part of his official transition duties. One explanation put forward by the Russians was that he was meeting on behalf of his business, and there are others still. What are you learning today?
Right. Well, so as you said, the White House's position is that this was a diplomatic meeting. Kushner was acting in his capacity as a transition official. The bank put out an entirely different story, saying this was part of a bank roadshow where the bank was sort of firming up its business contacts in the U.S. Now, that's interesting because the bank is under sanctions, so Americans are forbidden right now from doing business with the bank. So it raises the question, did the bank believe that sanctions were about to be lifted under the new Trump administration? Did Jared Kushner discuss this with the bank? That's certainly something congressional investigators will want to ask him. But another question is, did the issue of the Kushner real estate empire come up in this meeting? Was there any discussion of financing for example, as we reported today, the Kushners appear to be underwater and under some distress for this big office building on Fifth Avenue, 666 Fifth Avenue, which they got for $1.8 billion back in 2007, mostly financed with loans. There's a lot of speculation as to whether that issue may have come up. We don't know whether it did, but we know congressional investigators certainly would like to ask Jared Kushner that question. And the context here is we're calling this a bank, but actually this is a Russian-owned entity that many analysts say is essentially an arm of the Russian government. And the CEO, Sergei Gorkov, is a man who attended Russian intelligence training and is described to us as a crony of Vladimir Putin. And here's another interesting fact that the Washington Post dug up. Gorkov, after this meeting with Kushner, flight records suggest he flew to Japan where he met with Vladimir Putin, Nicole.
So, Mika, let me bring you in on the legal questions. Is it more legally perilous for Jared Kushner to have been doing business with a sanctioned bank so that the business activity would be illegal, or is it more inappropriate if he was setting up a back channel to do undercover secret diplomacy? Which is worse?
I mean, they're both incredible. And in any other administration, you have the intersection of three things that we've never seen before. First, a relative of the president who's working as a White House staffer. This kind of nepotism we haven't seen in decades. And then you have the combination of the Kushner business enterprises while he's working in the White House. And then the third thing you have is this secret back channel where they were going to set up inside of a Russian facility. Any of these things alone by themselves would be serious grounds for a congressional investigation and a serious scandal, and this administration just seems to be shrugging it off. It's amazing.
Ken, I'm told by a source who is an ally of Jared Kushner, doesn't wish him any ill, that he's showing some signs of strain under the mounting scrutiny, the mounting questions, and perhaps even the extraordinary workload. What does the legal picture look like? Are you aware of him staffing up or adding any new lawyers to his defense team?
Well, we know he has a very high-powered former Justice Department official, Jamie Gorelick, representing him. And, I can understand that feeling, even if you take the most innocent explanation for all these activities. And under that explanation, Kushner was breathtakingly naive and has gotten himself in a heap of deep trouble. Like, as Mika said, if he actually asked, as the Washington Post reported, the Russians to use their line of communication as a back channel to the Kremlin, that is just stunning to my intelligence community sources, and they can't imagine why anyone would do that. It just looks terrible, and so he's got a lot of questions.
Go
to
ahead,
answer.
Mika.
I was going to say, and Nicole, on that, remember, in that meeting, Mike Flynn, who was the former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, was in the room. So I'm not sure that I believe that it was naive, because a head of an intelligence agency should know better than to say, hey, Russia, we'll use your facilities for the secret channel.